apat dito, apat na Japanese, bineneta yung apat na taga-Pateros, including my father, my brother without lungs. If you say you are a marking, you are a ender, patay kayo, including your family. That's why I cannot forget. Hindi talagang masama sa pinahirapan kami lahat.
The documentary was enlightening to find out about the history of Manila, which I had no idea what was going on then, and so it made me even more proud to be a Filipino. The film is beautiful and powerful. It throws us to the heart of the story and connects us to the present, and it's a very good way of retelling history.
This film actually almost brought me to tears. I normally don't cry. It finally tells something about our past and why it's important. It also looks back to our roots, what was given up, and also what could be gained, and to honor those that have done so much, and also to remember the faults we have made in the past. That's what this film has actually hit home, somehow very close to home, especially for me.
So basically, this is the importance of this film. Aside from the fact that this is the only film about the war which connected the dots of the past and the present. You know? So, while this is the issues that are presented at the end are still hot, I mean, they became more relevant now than when we said those words a year ago. When I was talking about the West Philippine Sea, now it has escalated. When Custodio was talking about, Muslims just kill them all. This is the very sentiment that people are saying today. Because of the brouhaha over BBL. Right? So, more than ever, this film is more relevant. So, I think that's my opening statement. Dr. Rosel, do you want to say something?
Well, actually, this is an interesting documentary because first it's made by director Bani, who's young, from the younger generation, is younger than we are. So that's why the pacing is very fast. I mean, the technology, the pacing. I was just looking at a documentary I made in 1986, and the technology was very, very crude at that time. Insofar as the Battle for Manila is concerned, I think this was very interesting because it did link up. I think somewhere it's mentioned that we might be the last, or this might be the last generation to actually see the veterans alive. Notice that the people who are speaking in the documentary were 7 years old, 10 years old at the time of the war. The older people have gone already. Now, how long will they be with us? In another 10 years, they'll be gone. So it's about time that we made this. There are other documentaries, but this is the latest, and it's, to me, one that really catches one's attention very clearly. So, again, it's very unfortunate for most of us now that the key players are gone. Most of the key players are gone. We're still fortunate that many of them are still around, and as I mentioned, that within our own families, we probably have people who are still alive. I only found out much later that the friend of my uncle was killed in the Battle of Manila. He was a guerrilla. I also found out that my own grandfather was killed by the Japanese at the end of the war, not in Manila but in Bulacan, and nobody wanted to talk about that. And it's only 60, 70 years after the fact that these stories come out. They are so painful that nobody ever wanted to talk about them. So it's about this time that they're coming out. Of course, the one thing that I think this should drive home, and it's true of every other similar condition, is na there should be no fighting. Yung problema kasi ngayon is it is easy to escalate this into a very emotional thing. Kaya we send our fishermen there. That's why we see, pinapadala natin doon mga Coast Guard vessels, not Philippine Navy vessels. Because if we send Navy vessels, that means war. Coast Guard means you're protecting the borders. This is a civilian thing. So, kaya puro Coast Guard. And pati mga kinchik, pinapadala nila is not Navy, but it's Coast Guard. Kasi as long as it's Coast Guard, that's still a civilian function. Pero pag Navy ship ng ano. So the problem is everybody I've talked with says it's very easy to get a flashpoint at that point. And then if fighting breaks out, it becomes too emotional. And yung nangyari dyan sa Manila is also the result of that. No? Naging paranoid yung ibang mga officers doon. And I think the main bottom level is we should not solve that issue by fighting. There's nothing that will be solved by fighting. So dapat palaging we should have the negotiations continue, even though mahihirapan tayo, we have to talk it over. It's not, we can probably build our position of strength, but it's a point that we'll never actually be able to use that strength.
When things become so emotional, we place some pressure on the nationals that are here. For example, because some people don't know me, okay, they base their knowledge on my nickname, which is Xiao, and then my surname is Chua. See? I'm a naturalized Filipino. My great-grandfather is the pure Chinese guy. So that makes me Filipino. Okay? But now there are people who what they call this, who bully me. Who bully me. They're trolls who bully me because I will not listen to that historian because he is a Chinese historian. And people might resort to this. So, of course, we have to, again, understand that, the Chinese who are here are already Filipinos. Filipino-Chinese. And it shouldn't be a game of infighting. Their loyalty is not with China. Their loyalty is with the Philippines. And also, the history taught us that, even if the enemy is strong, Filipinos will fight when that happens. I think, but again, in the diplomacies of the past 50 years, it is possible that this will not escalate until we can find ways to talk or to at least what they call that, parang deadlock the situation. It's possible that it will not escalate to a war, because my best friend is scared to death. One of my best friends is scared to death. Is the world going to end with World War III come? Come on. Let's settle this peacefully.
Question.